Welcome to another weekly Forex forecast, traders. This week we saw the dollar really just tank here, and we are approaching pretty much already almost contacted this weekly area of demand. Now, this rectangle box here, this purple box, is what I call a support liquidity area, meaning there are stop losses going to be placed underneath this area. And if you notice, we have two weekly demand zones that I think are high probability in my opinion. And if you look here, I don't know if you guys can see the dotted lines. What that is a monthly demand zone. If you see on the screen right now, this is the monthly time frame. We are so close to that base rally monthly demand zone where I think the dollar will probably start to rally. I'm not saying we're going to get all the way back up to, the 110s, but I do think we will get at least a small move off of that monthly area of demand. Now, with that being said, what do we need to monitor? Well, we need to monitor both of these weekly demand zones that are inside of the overall monthly demand. We should also be monitoring the monthly chart to see when we contact the monthly demand. And we also wanted to monitor some of the 1 hour and the 4 hour downward trends to see if we can continue to go down. Now, on the 4 hour chart, we have a 4 hour supply that's above at 102.53. I'm not saying we're going to get a pullback up to this supply first, but it's possible we do get a pullback all the way up to the supply before we actually contact that monthly demand zone. So just because I think that's where we're going is lower, below 100, down to that, we're actually already at below 100 now. But just because that's where I think we're going doesn't mean we won't see a pullback up first and then a drop down. So this supply, this downward trend line on the 4 hour time frame is definitely something we want to be monitoring here on the DXY. And then, like I said, the monthly demand down below, we're going to monitor what happens at that monthly demand and those weekly demand zones as well. On to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. We actually have a weekly trend to the upside now as we have broken this previous high. Now, we have already targeted this liquidity here, so it is tricky to tell what's going to take place here on the euro at this point. Like I said, based off the DXY, I'm expecting the dollar to start to rally once we can contact the monthly demand down below. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the euro move up just a little bit more before falling. Now, on the daily time frame, we did remove some supply above. We got a beautiful push up. Now we have kind of a level on top of level down below as far as demand goes. Not my favorite situation, but the daily trend, it's looking strong. There's no denying that this daily trend looking very, very strong in my opinion. So really all signs are pointing to the upside until we can get moves to the downside here, breaking some trend. And again, like I said, I'm expecting the dollar to rally after we contact that monthly demand, but doesn't mean we won't continue to see the DXY fall, which would mean the euro would continue to go up. So you could continue to look for longs on the euro US dollar. Even if we get a pullback all the way down to this daily demand, it could be good for a quick trade in here. I'm not saying we're going to get a massive move off this daily zone, but it'd be a good area to day trade in because it's a higher time frame level on top of level. So that's what I'll be watching there on the Euro US dollar as far as the daily time frame goes. Now, if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, I do these forecasts every single Saturday. So on the 1 hour time frame, we pointed out this 1 hour demand zone in the daily market breakdown video. Beautiful move off this demand zone so far, which means you could be looking for 5 minute time frame longs as long as this demand zone is holding. So if you're a trader on the 5 minute chart, you're in luck. We have a 1 hour higher time frame demand and control. 5 minute time frame longs are good, and you could target that high. If we get a pullback down to this 1 hour demand zone, I think it's also good for a potential small move. It's a little hidden rally-based rally at 111. So another good little rally-based rally 1 hour demand zone there on the Euro US dollar. And if we get an even deeper pullback, well, actually, we have a 4 hour zone right here. I didn't notice until now. So we have an overall 4 hour zone at 112 that is decent rally-based rally, and one that I like a little bit more, a little bit lower at 110. So a lot of zones here on the Euro US dollar. If you don't know which one to pick, you can just always trade all of them and let your risk reward play out in the long run if you are looking for 2-to-1, 3-to-1 trades. If you want, also, you could look for day trading confirmation in there as well, which means you wait for this zone to be hit, then you go down to a 15-minute or a 5-minute time frame chart and look for confirmation on those time frames once these two 4 hour demand zones are hit. And you can do the same thing for the 1 hour zones as well. But at the end of the day here, guys, the Euro US dollar is looking strong. We could expect to see some downward pressure coming soon. But going back to the 4 hour chart, as long as this 4 hour trend line's holding, we're going to be looking for longs. But if we get a move like this, where we create some sort of supply zone above, breaking the lows, creating a downward trend, then we can day trade short, then we can talk about shorts. But in the meantime, it is longs all the way at the demand zones here on the Euro USD. All right, on to the forecast for gold. Look at the moves we have seen in gold the past 1, 2, 3 days. Insane moves. I've never seen moves like this on gold. We almost contacted this daily demand. Couldn't quite hit it. There was so much demand down there, we couldn't quite hit it. Now we have a new demand zone down below on the daily chart. So a couple great, if we get those big moves down, these are great dip buying opportunities. But look at the trend to the upside, guys. It is longs all the way here on gold, guys. I cannot stress that enough. Now on the 4-hour time frame, you could simply just be day trading long, right? Because we have trends to the upside indicated by the arrow. And the nearest pullback demand is down to this 4-hour demand zone as far as the 4-hour chart goes at 31.28. If not, there is one a little bit lower, which is probably just the daily zone. So I would probably ignore that one, focus on the daily zone. But this is the nearest rally-based rally demand zone. And it's not that great, honestly. It's not really a zone I would take. It's just a zone I'm having on my charts to see if price comes down, what removes it. It's for my chain analysis purposes. So it's not really a great zone that I would personally like to take. What I'd be waiting for is new zones to be formed, and I will have those zones on my charts for the members. If you want to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership for exclusive access to our daily market breakdown videos and catch trades like these. Plus, dive deep with our full-length forecast covering 26 plus markets, our interactive Sunday Zoom sessions, and personal homework to sharpen your strategy. And you'll also join our private Discord group for direct access to me and unlock a complete library of A to Z video lessons to master supply and demand trading. Don't miss out. Let's level up your trading. Links in the description down below. Even here on the 1-hour time frame, we have a demand zone down below at 31.27. It's pretty much just inside of that overall 4-hour demand zone. So I'd probably focus more on that 4-hour demand zone in my opinion. And then like I said, guys, these zones, this one's not bad, but I want to wait for some better zones to be formed. Hopefully we can keep pushing up. Like I said, I'll have all those new zones on my charts for all of the paying members to get my zones that you guys can trade from. So I'm looking forward to trading gold. Hopefully we can get a pullback down to some of these zones or create some better zones on the way up. On to the forecast for the USDJPY. We have seen the USDJPY tank pretty much the last couple of weeks. We have liquidity here, an area of support, which I think we will break and push lower. So we could still see more downward pressure here on the USDJPY just based off of this weekly time frame. Now on the daily chart, we created a couple of weeks ago a daily downward trend. Last week we created a daily downward trend. Look at this trend line. Make sure you have it on your charts because this is going to be important to monitor what's going to happen. To put it simply, if the trend line's holding, price is going to go down. If it breaks, it might go up. It's very possible. We have a daily demand that's in control right now, so we certainly could see, some sort of move off the daily demand to kind of test the trend line and be back. So if you want to trade this move, let me show you what I would be looking for here on the USDCAD. So I would pretty much be ignoring the 1-hour chart. I don't really have a lot of zones there. But over here on the 4-hour time frame, we have a 4-hour downward trend. So to put it simply, I want to be monitoring, and actually, let me see here. So we had a downward trend line here. This is kind of the chain analysis that I do. Yeah, so this trend line was never removed. Anyways, this is the new downward trend line. If the trend line breaks, that will be our confirmation long. Remember, the daily demand's in control, so we want to wait for confirmation. One way of doing that is waiting for confirmation on the 4-hour chart. We would prefer to see it on the 1-hour, but the 4-hour is more clear because we have a downward trend line. Unfortunately, there's no supply zones here that I see that we could see removed, so all we have to do to wait for a long trade off the daily demand is something like this, where we break the downward trend line, get a demand zone for a potential long trade. That's what I'd be waiting for on the USDJPY. If you think, Kevin, you are so wrong, that daily demand is going to continue to fall. If you think I'm wrong, that's fine. We have a 4-hour downward trend line, so you could be day trading short that on a 15-minute chart. So as long as the downward trend line's holding, I don't mind 15-minute time frame shorts because of the 4-hour downtrend. Now, technically that's higher odds thing to do, right? Because of the daily downward trend. The issue is that we have a daily demand in control, and a daily downward trend is technically stronger than a daily demand. So, I'm not saying we're going to blast right through to the demand zone. Like I said, we could see a small move up from the trend line and maybe capture that move. But in the meantime, we have to monitor the daily demand, monitor the daily downward trend, and the 4-hour downward trend line as well here on the USDJPY. All right, on to the forecast for the GBPUSD, guys. We have pretty much broken this weekly supply right here. I didn't call it remove with this massive wick here, but now we have a full candle close above it. I'm not getting into my rules here, but in my opinion, you know, that zone has now been removed. And that has actually left us with a decent weekly demand zone down below, but if you look, it's tested. Now, this was tested after it was created. I'm not going to get into detail. This is not a trade I would have taken. As you guys can see, I just drew the zone now, but we still have to draw it. If we do get a pullback down to this demand zone on the weekly chart, I still think we could see a move off of that zone. But in the meantime, the weekly supply has been taken out. Things are looking really, really strong. Now, we do have a little daily supply up here to get through as well. I don't love this supply as far as like my higher time frame analysis goes, but if you look, this is a very nice upper trend line. That trend line was removed by this little base drop supply on the daily chart. So I think, especially now since we've kind of, you know, almost based out above it here, I think we could see a move off the supply. Maybe something like that. I'm not saying we're going to get a move off the supply and push all the way down here. I'm saying we'll maybe see a small move off the zone like that before we end up rallying up. I'm just saying if you are going to be day trading the pound long and we do contact this daily area of supply, you need to be cautious on that. You should maybe be looking to take profit a little bit earlier on your longs since we have a higher time frame supply in control. So keep that in mind. It is also possible we react off the supply to push down to this very good daily demand down below. I like this daily demand for a potential dip buying opportunity. I like that we have a liquidity area right before it as well. That's what I really love to see. And that's kind of what we have at this supply as well. So definitely could see a move off those zones here. And then obviously we are monitoring this high as well, because if we have that higher moved, we will have a new trend line, which will give longs even higher odds on the pound. How do we trade the pound right now? The nearest zone I'm seeing is this drop base rally demand at 1.30. We have seen the similar demand on the euro already react off of it, so that could be foreshadowing, or this move could have been missed. But at the end of the day, it's a nice drop base rally demand with a liquidity trap right before it as well. We certainly could see a move off of that demand zone at 1.30 here on the GBPUSD. Alrighty, on to the forecast for the USDCAD. This thing is pretty much in free fall mode, and let me show you guys the trade that we took from the daily market breakdown video this past week on the USDCAD here in a second, but the weekly trend is still holding. So why are we shorting against a weekly trend? I'll break it down for you guys here soon, but look at that candle, guys. All signs are pointing to the downside. We have a clear profit target down to this weekly demand at 1.357 as well. And it's fresh, so I think we could see some hesitation around that weekly demand zone. But we still have lots of room to the downside here on the USDCAD. So this trade here, first of all, let me just go to the daily chart. We did just remove that daily area of demand there, and that was removed by this area of daily supply. So beautiful daily downward trend line here on the USDCAD. So the trade we took is this 4-hour supply zone. Now I want to emphasize here, I had a very bad week the previous week due to all of the Trump's tariff, all that Trump tariff news and all that stuff. We saw the crazy moves. I was in a 5% drawdown just from that news, that economic data that was coming out with the tariffs and all that stuff. Now, I'm not blaming them. You know, I'd never blame anything else, but obviously we all know why the markets took a massive turn. So I was in a big drawdown. I was even telling the members in the Discord group, this drawdown is pretty crazy. And then I was telling them all I'm going to do is continue to trade the same way I did, and we had this drop area of demand on the 4-hour chart, supply. It removed a previous proven demand zone. Not only that, this move down that we saw, that created, going back to the daily chart, that created a daily downward trend, right? So that pretty much broke, that created a very nice daily downward trend line. So that is another reason that I really liked this trading setup. In my opinion, it was looking pretty good as far as that supply zone goes. And then, like I said, drop supply. It was called out beforehand in the daily market breakdown video. If you want to learn more about supply and demand and the real supply and demand methodology, check out the trading PDF, the full course PDF that comes in the membership as well. Very, very good, interesting learning material there. The USDCAD now, how do we trade it? Well, very similar to all the other zones on the 1-hour chart. We have a 1-hour supply zone here at 1.39. We could wait for a pullback to that supply zone, get a small move off that zone, maybe even a larger move, since we could continue to see price go lower. So that is our 1-hour supply zone here in the USDCAD. We have nice 4-hour downward trends as well, 1-hour downward trends. So you could also be day trading short as well here on the USDCAD. On to the forecast for the AUDUSD. We saw a massive red candle on the weekly chart, followed by pretty much a full green candle here on the weekly time frame. So was it manipulation? In my opinion, it might have been. More importantly, we have a daily downward trend now, and we are pulling right back into a very good daily supply. This daily supply removed lows, a bunch of lows here, all-time lows. I don't know if they're all-time lows actually, but very good, it's a very good supply. Look at this, rally, base, drop, very nice tight basing. Look at the move away, boom, massive move away, clean push into the zone. I personally think we could hesitate around the supply. Breaking this supply zone and the downward trend line will be a very significant long signal in my opinion. So if we do that and we get a demand zone there, it'll be a very, very good demand zone. But at the end of the day, we have a daily supply and control. We certainly could see a move off of that daily supply zone on the Aussie US dollar. So how do we go about and trade it now? Well, we have a set and forget trade right here. This is a little hidden 4-hour supply zone set and forget trade at 0.631. I wouldn't say it's hidden actually, but it is I wouldn't really say it's a risky set and forget. All set and forgets are kind of risky, but at the end of the day, guys, this is a 4-hour supply in an overall daily supply zone with a very good move away, breaking demand. I think it's a great little potential set and forget trading opportunity. That is one option for shorts. The only way I'd be getting in long, guys, is if we can remove this supply and that high, and we have a 4-hour demand zone there. That is the only long entry I would take, or a potential pullback down to this 4-hour demand as well. But look, if this supply holds and we get a pullback down to this 4-hour demand, could we see a move? Yes. This will be good for like a 2-to-1, 1-to-1 move, and then we'll probably end up breaking it because it's counter trend. So just because I'm pointing out this 1-hour demand zone doesn't mean I say we should look for a 5-to-1. We're just trying to capture a small move where this trade up here, this offers a bigger risk reward based on the fact that we have a higher time frame trend and supply in control with it as well. So that is our supply zone for short. This is our demand zone for long here on the Aussie US dollar. And that is really all I'm seeing at this time. But guys, monitor the daily supply, the daily downward trend line. I'm not going to trade against this daily supply and the daily downward trend line. If it breaks, that's fine. I'll happily take a loss. But at the end of the day, weekly downward trend, daily supply and control, all signs are pointing to the downside here on the AUD/USD. On to the forecast for the USD Swiss. This thing is absolutely in free fall mode with the US dollar falling. We do have a weekly demand down below. This demand was created a very, very long time ago, back in 2011. So I'm not saying this is going to be the demand zone that stops this huge drop, right? But we could see a small move, so it's something to consider. And we're kind of viewing this space as our profit margin to the downside here on the USD Swiss. Obviously, in the daily chart, everything's just pretty much in free fall mode. On the 1-hour and the 4-hour chart, basically you could be day trading short the 1-hour and the 4-hour downward trend line on the day trading time frames. That's fine. We do have a 1-hour supply above at 0.83, a little hidden base drop supply. Not my favorite supply zone, I'll be honest with you. But on the 4-hour chart, I like this 4-hour downward trend line here. It's just, when you look at this chart, the 4-hour chart is just a little bit more clear compared to the 1-hour chart. So I'd be more focused on this 4-hour downward trend line. What I will say is, as long as this downward trend line's holding, I think 15-minute time frame shorts are going to be completely fine. And if we get a pullback up to the little base drop supply, I think it's a great area to look for a potential short trade at 0.839. And as always, guys, if you don't feel comfortable with just an entry, stop loss, take profit, you could wait for the zone to be hit, look for little smaller time frame supply zones within the higher time frame supply zone to look for our confirmation here on the USDCHF. Alrighty, on to the forecast for crude oil. We've been pointing out this weekly demand for so long. It was finally removed this past week. I'm so happy the zone's finally removed. It's just been driving me nuts because I don't trade a tested zone. So when price hits a tested zone, it's very difficult for me to trade. But at the end of the day, the weekly chart, weekly downward trend line looking very, very strong. We have a new rally, base, drop, weekly supply. So even if we do get massive moves on oil, we're not out of the woods for longs until we can remove supply and until we can remove the downward trend line. So the time being, yeah, we could see oil push up, but we have a lot of supply and in the downward trend lines to get through before we really can remain, bullish on crude oil. And to keep the trading simple here, I will be mostly focused on this 4-hour chart. If you think we are going to get a pullback up to that weekly supply, that's fine. It is counter trend, but you can still make money trading counter trend. I do it all the time. Now, you could be waiting for this 4-hour demand zone to be hit to look for longs. I like it. It's a nice drop, base, Very nice move away, removed an opposing supply zone. I like it at 57.38. So that could be our potential long demand zone pullback. If you want to trade with the daily and the 4-hour trend, or sorry, the daily and the weekly trend, we have a couple supply zones level on top of level on the 4-hour chart at 66.26 and at 69.46. So I don't mind a pullback entry there at that 4-hour supply. And if we break that one, we could also trade that supply as well. Now, some of you might be asking, well, Kevin, which zone do we take? You could just take this one. You could just take this one. You could take both. You could not take any. It is completely up to you. If you have a good risk to reward, like a 3-to-1 risk to reward, let's say this one's a loser, this one goes 3-to-1, you're up 2%. You lost 1%, you made 3%, you're up 2%. Let's say you only have a 2-to-1 risk to reward, and then this one fails, this one works 2-to-1. Well, look at that, you're up 1%. So if you're at a 1-to-1 risk to reward, maybe this one works 1-to-1, this one works 1-to-1, now you're up 2%. There's so many different options. I'm just pointing out the supply zones and the demand zones that you could be trading from. It is completely and entirely up to you which zones to take. I like both of them. I like to let my risk reward play out rather than pick and choose. That's just my opinion. If you want to watch the full-length forecast and get my daily chart analysis and daily market breakdown videos, join the Diamond membership. Links in the description down below.